See what happens if I was a cow running through this. Hey guys, welcome back to Moon's little farm journey. Oh, this is the new greenhouse right next to this one. Ended up coming out pretty nicely. But the real reason we're gonna make this video today is because I told you guys I was gonna make a video on how to set up a high tensile fence, and it's pretty simple. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do just one string, and then I think that's enough so you can, like, if you're into the situation, you can learn it yourself. And so here's the area that I'm gonna be working on. It's where we got the shed delivered to. So I'm gonna put this wall here, and then this wall going here. This one's only like 100 feet. This one's like 200 feet. But they're actually pretty small sections to do. I did everything else, and this is what I was waiting to do after the shelter got delivered. But if you're gonna do this, if you're working with high tensile wire, this stuff is pretty heavy. It's like 150 pounds a roll. So definitely is not something you think that you're gonna unroll by hand. All right, so luckily for me, there's like a little, I guess it's like a spool holder here that kind of spins on this right here, and I was able to borrow it from a good friend of mine. But yeah, if you're gonna work on this, it depends. Like if you're gonna get a big roll of high tensile wire, it is pretty heavy. Get yourself a spool or try to borrow one from somebody, and it'll make your job a lot easier. Alright, so that's set up pretty easy there. Now we're gonna thread this piece of wire, and it's gonna run. That's the basic concept right there. As you unwind it, kind of spins, and you can get the wire going pretty easy. I guess, like, if we're gonna talk about building this fence, it probably would be useful to know like the things that you're gonna need. So like I said, you're gonna need some, I actually don't know what the technical name is of this thing right here, but I just call it like a wire spool thing, and I'm gonna find the name of it, and I'm gonna put it in the video right here so you know how to look for that thing. All right, well, besides that, I'm definitely gonna need something to cut the wires with. All right, and then don't try to get away with using your regular pliers to cut electrical wire, because this high tensile wire is pretty strong. So I went ahead and I pretty much got to, like, it's kind of like bolt cutters, and trust me, you're gonna need it. It'll make your life a lot easier if you're using this. You're gonna need a crimper, like a crimping tool, and you're gonna need kind of like a tensioner. I mean, I guess you could get away with not using this, but you're gonna need a type of tensioner to tension the wire. If you can, go ahead and get yourself this is like a come-along tool that kind of helps you take out all the slack off the wire before you start putting things together. All right, obviously you're gonna need some crimping sleeves. All right, this one's working with 12.5 gauge wire, which is what I'm using here. And the breaking point of this wire is like, it's close to like, I want to say it's like 2,000 pounds of force to break this wire. So that's why you want to get that heavy duty wire cutters, because it's gonna be tough to cut it. All right, so you're gonna need some post insulators right here. Yeah, I picked this up from Fleet Farm. You want this so it's not grounding out with the wood post. And then for the run, like, from the line of the post, I use the pin lock insulators, and I just chose this because when I did a couple tours to kind of look at what everybody else had, these ones ended up being kind of like the brand. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to get. It looks practical, it looks easy to change if something breaks and happens, and this is kind of like what it looks like right here. So the wire will go right in the middle, and then you just lock the wire in right there. All right, now if you need to make a repair, it's pretty easy to unlock these things. Right here, you just kind of pull them up, and then you take the wire out. Right, if you need to repair, just replace the entire line, you just take them all off and do that. And it's pretty simple. and then, you know, it's screwed in there. But so it's pretty easy to put them up and set them up. So that's what I recommend to go with. Most of the products that I went with is the Gallagher's fencing stuff, and that's been working out pretty good for me. All right, another thing that you may need if you're doing cattle or whatever, or actually if you're in an area where you got like deer, if you have a lot of deer that kind of come through, you got your springs for your wire. You put this somewhere in the wire, and what it does is like it allows you to make that wire tight, but it also gives you that slack, you know. So if you have a deer that just whacks into your fence, it's got that give to, so you're not compromising and breaking things down the line. Also, if you have a tree branch that kind of falls over it, in theory, these springs are supposed to give enough slack for that wire to like just let that branch fall over until you come out there and cut it. Versus if you just have a wire that's tense and you have a branch that falls right on top of that, you may be breaking your end post or something in the line. All right, so you don't have to, but I think like these are probably very it could be very useful from the research I did. And then of course you got your wire tensioners. There's different kinds, you know. I bought this one's Flip Farm. All this stuff you can get at Flip Farm. Gallagher's got a really nice one. It's just like a wheel and you just tighten it, but it was a little bit too pricey for me. Yeah, that should be all the things you need. I'll put a list right here, kind of like or here or here or here. We'll see when I add it where that list is gonna go, but here's the list that you're gonna need for setting up the fence. So I already actually put one in because I wanted to practice before I actually taped it. But when you got your spool already set up over here, all ready to go, so throw yourself a line in here. You go ahead, you can just probably grab it and just walk with it. Right, so you know, as I'm walking, just unwinding back there. Now, doing this by hand, this is 200 feet, so it's not too bad. One thing I would say, like if you gotta do 1,000 feet like I did over there in the big pasture, I was going 1,000 feet and I tried to do it like this, but I tell you what, after 500 feet, pulling this wire gets pretty heavy. You wouldn't think so, it's just one wire and you're just unspooling it, but it'll get pretty heavy once you get past 500-600 feet. To pull it like this, it'd be pretty heavy. So what I did for that is I took the ATV and I used my that tool that come along for the fence, and I hooked it up to the ATV, or you can probably just tie it to your ATV somehow, and then I pulled it all the way 1,000 feet. It was a lot easier than having to manhandle that thing all the way over there. Okay, but here we are right here at the end. It was 200 feet. Like I said, right now 200 feet is easy. You can pull 200 feet pretty easy. All right, so what I do is now like kind of guesstimate. If you look at my older one, it's gonna wrap around the post, and then I left a little bit of wire exposed, and that's because I'm gonna use that to connect the wires when we electrify them. So when you're here, just kind of like pull your cable up. You guesstimate that it's gonna go around there and then come here, right? So when you're gonna do this side over here, we're actually gonna do the pull and come along on that side, so we won't be doing any cutting on this side. But I'm gonna put one of those crimps in there, the crimping. And now, if you read it, some people tell you to do 2 of them, you know, like to crimp it, so it crimps it cable twice. It's up to you. It's been working fine with just 1 for me, but if you want to do 2, go ahead and do 2. Right? So you put that in there first, then you can go ahead and put your insulator, because this is what's going to go around the post. There you go. That's all you need for this side. All right, but once you're here, once you set up over here, go ahead. All you got to do is like, so I pre-marked my post, but this one's easy because there's already a wire here. So what I do is just going right over it, wrap it around, find that crimp right here. I'm going in all the way with it. I like to go in all the way with this right here. Kind of squeeze it and push it in right there. That's actually holding it pretty good on its own, but now we're gonna go ahead and crimp that one. Get a crimping tool. There you go. So this one shouldn't be going anywhere now. This extra one, I'm gonna leave it here because I'm actually gonna, like I said, I'm gonna use it to connect the fences to the other one. All right, so depending how you're gonna connect your fences, some people just put a wire in there. I figure, hey, I might as well just crimp those 2 wires if I got extra one here anyways. So we'll leave it like that. Now what I'm gonna do is, like, as I'm walking back, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put it in the insulator. So this actually shows you how easy these insulators are to use, because I'm only having to use one hand here because I got the phone on the other one. But just put it in there and then you hook it. Pretty easy to use insulators. Here, I recommend them from Gallagher. Alright, so once you get your line all the way coming through here, they come over here and you have to figure out where to cut it. So if you're running like a short area, like, you know, here I'm going to 200 and 100 feet, you'll be able to get that slack off by hand. But if you're going longer than this, like 1,000 feet, you may need the come along to come here and pull this a little bit tight. Right, so all I'm doing is I'm going to gauge, that's about where I want to cut it, right here, and this will give me that little extra slack to connect it to the other one. Now one thing, when you're cutting high tensile wire, you gotta be careful, because these things are, because of the strength they have, sometimes they hold a lot of tension, and they can swing by and hit you in the face. So I'm holding it to over here. And if you ask me how I know that, is because he already got me in the face once. So first time I cut it, it was intention, and he just came back and like hit me right in the face. Now you gotta be careful though, because this size right here too, when you cut them, they're pretty sharp. So I mean, if I hit you, it can cut you up pretty good. So just be careful where that thing's gonna swing once you cut it. All right, so now that I got my length here, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna put one of the crimps right here. One of these ones right here. Crimp. Put that in first. Then you're gonna put in your isolator for the post. Put it on the post. Like I said, right now I can do this by hand because it's not a long piece. This is not a long section at all. If you're doing a long section, you're gonna need that come along, because that cable is gonna be pretty heavy. So now don't worry about this, because this is not really how tight the fence is gonna be. You just want to get the slack off of it, and we'll tighten it up here in a minute. So come here. crimp in there. I like to put them in pretty close as far as I can. Just kind of like squeezing the wires and working it as far in as it can. But right there, now we'll crimp it so it doesn't move. Here. There you go. It's not going anywhere. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to do, because if you look at the line, this top line, it's pretty loose, right? So you want to get that slack off. Make it tight. I like to put my springs pretty close to the post. My very first one, I made a mistake and I did it like in the middle of a long section, and it actually sags, and I didn't like the way that looks. So I try to keep them close to one of the posts. Kind of like if you look behind there, they're all pretty close to that post right there. They're pretty even. Alright, so the way this tool works is it's gonna pinch the cable, this cable here. I come here, just pinch it in place, and then I hold tension on the chain, and I'm stretching this chain all the way over here. And then with this section, I want to pinch the cable over here. There you go, right there. Okay. Now you guys will see, like once I start doing this, it's gonna take all that slack off the line. You want to show them right here? So the way this thing works is just kind of, it crawls along the chain. It catches the next section, taking the slack off the line. So if you see, that's all the slack, and you got that over there. Now cutting this one is the one that I told you guys. This one, like the corner ones are not too bad, but this thing right now is under tension. If I cut this, it's gonna swing both ways. So remember that. All right, well, here that core is not going anywhere, right? So we're gonna pre-cut it. And then you want to give yourself a little bit of line here. Give yourself a little bit of room. I would say maybe a foot will probably be good. Like 12 inches. That's where you want to cut it. Alright. I like to, so this one is not gonna, there's no way this is gonna come out and hit him in the face, but this one will. So I like to hang on to this one. I like to hang on to this side, and then I'll cut it. There you go. So you know, when this is under tension, it'll swing out and get you. Alright, so here, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put one of these in right here. So you got your spring, and then you got your thing to get tight. The strainer. Alright, so when you buy them, they're gonna come like this. They're gonna come separate. Alright, so like I said before, it's your preference of what you want to do it. You really don't need this if you don't want to use it, but I'm using it because there is a lot of deer that come through here running, and they can that'll give, like if you can see this line right here, it gives the line a lot of slack, right? So I use them. You don't have to. You could just straight out just put this in there and get it tight. All right, all you have to do is just grab one side, and then the other one comes in here, and then you get it tight. All right, but what I'm gonna do is, the way you put this together, you take one of these ends right here and then just push it out right here like that. This one stays in there. All right, take your strainer, and you see that little hole, just kind of loop it in there like this. Now the way you're gonna put this back together is where you have this, you want to take the end of this one, you squeeze them together, and you're gonna fit it right through here. to get to the other side. Once it pops up on the other side, you see it's gonna hook up right there. So that's not going anywhere. So now you should have this right here. All right. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna hook it up to this cable. Always, and remember, you want to put your crimp in there first so you can crimp it later. All right, so throw that one in there first. You can do it with pliers or whatnot, but I use this right here, and I bent the wire. All right. And I'll take this end, just hook it, and then put that wire right back in here. All right, and you crimp that so it doesn't go anywhere. All right, at this end, what you're gonna do, sometimes you gotta line up your holes. So here, I'm just making it like this so I can fit that cable in there. You're gonna go, like, depending on which ones you buy, there's a lot of different styles. I like this one. You fit the cable right through that hole right there. Comes from this side, comes on this side, and then it hooks it like this. Like that. Now here you take this, I'm gonna twist this so it kind of wraps on there, and then you cut off the excess. Make sure you save this. If you're doing cattle, this stuff can get into cattle's hooves. So put them all in the same pile, and so make sure I can clean them up when I'm done. All right, from here it's pretty easy. Take this. Now remember that tool I told you guys that this one's a universal ratchet, whatever, for fences. Depending on what you have, some you can come in here, you hook them up like this, and then you do it. To turn it, but I like this end right here because this end fits right in here, right into this right here. Come here, and then you just turn it. All right. Right there is pretty tight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna take this section off. Now all the weight is on this right here, on the tightener. This comes off. Now this one will come off pretty easy as well. Now from here, you judge how tight you want it. You know, there are some markings in this little spring. If you guys look in here, they got like little tack marks. There's 2 tack marks in there. I like to go in between them, and that kind of feels pretty tight. So it's really your preference how tight you want your fence. But in between the tack marks, that's where I leave it. So it's pretty good right there. You want it a little tighter, all you gotta do is just keep turning it out a little bit more. All right, but this should do it. Now, as you can see, I put all my lines already, because you can run all the lines first and then come back and do this, and it'll go a lot faster. But that's how you set up high tensile fence wire. So I hope that helped. Let me know if you guys got any questions in the comments. I'll try to answer the best I can. So if we helped you out in any way, you know, we do ask, if you can help us out, just give us a thumbs up. All right, guys, hope this helped you. See you in the next one. See what happens if I was a cow running through this. It's pretty strong. I mean, I don't weigh nowhere near as much as a cow, but it will be electrified too, so it's not just the fence, it'll shock them too.